So is LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga any good? Is it worth getting? And is it faithful to the original films? And how does it handle the new sequel trilogy? Because there's been obviously a little bit of a mixed response regarding those stories and those movies. So how does the LEGO format handle those ones? And like I said, the prequel trilogy and of course the original trilogy as well. We're going to talk about that here in this video. It's going to be my kind of looser, more kind of a discussion type review of LEGO Star Wars Skywalker Saga. It's not scripted. It's just kind of my experience with it and what I think, whether, you know, it's worth it or not. Now, I will give it a score at the end of this video as well. So if you guys do enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like. It really helps out the channel. If you guys are new around here, be sure to subscribe for more gaming content. We talk about the games and play the games here on the channel. And of course, you could always change your mind later if you end up not liking the content, but I'm confident that you will enjoy your time here. So some of you may have actually tuned in to my live playthrough of LEGO Star Wars Skywalker Saga. What I like to do here on the channel is do Let's Plays, kind of walkthroughs, playthroughs, live format, and then they archive as VODs for anyone who missed it live. I just feel like that's kind of the best format to kind of combine both the live experience and still people get to enjoy it as a VOD after the fact as well, in the chat save, so you guys can always see who I'm talking to and whatnot. So I know some of you guys kind of went through the journey with me, and you may already got a little bit of a sense of what I was feeling about these games. Now, it's really hard to kind of say just like an overall. I mean, I will give an overall impressions after, but I want to first break it down episode by episode. And again, I'm not going to go too in depth with this. It's just going to be kind of like a light kind of sprinkling, if you will. Now, I will say that each episode, if you're kind of going, you know, rushing, just going straight for the story, not doing a lot of exploring, not doing a lot of side stuff, then just straight story, each episode takes about roughly an hour and a half, give or take. Now, if you're doing a little bit more kind of side stuff, then you can extend that to 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, depending how much side stuff you're doing. Now, obviously, there's going to be certain things in the kind of overworld, if you will. Some of the levels have kind of more of a wider exploration kind of zone, if you will. And there's going to be certain things that you actually have to come back later in free play to be able to do certain side missions and certain unlockables and things like that. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do during your first kind of, you know, normal playthrough of the story itself. Some of the stuff you're going to have to come back for. There's a lot of stuff in this game in terms of unlockables and stuff. Obviously, you have your stud multiplier and whatnot. There's these data cards that are scattered across the world. I believe, if I remember correctly, don't quote me on this one, I think there's like 19 or something of them. And these allow you to unlock secret kind of, you know, what you would consider cheats, if you will. They're not really cheats, but, you know, like I said, multipliers for your studs. It could be anything from, you know, droids that will kind of go on the adventure with you, like a GNK or whatever, if I remember correctly. Different things like that. Mumble mode, I believe you don't need a data card to actually unlock, but there's other things like big head mode, for example, or, you know, turning lightsabers into a baguette, right? Like a piece of bread, right? A baguette. Things like that. You need data cards to unlock. So there's kind of some cool unlockables, things like that. There's a lot of side stuff. There's some like side challenges and side missions and whatnot that you can go ahead and do as well. So there's plenty to do in this world, even apart from the main story. Now, obviously, like I said, if you're just going for main story, each episode is about an hour and a half, give or take. And so if you multiply that, each kind of trilogy is going to take you about, what, 4 to 5 hours, 4.5 hours, let's just say 5 hours, give or take. So if you're just kind of rushing story, it's at least approximately a 15-hour game. Like I said, after that, there is tons to do to, you know, explore, to collect studs, to get all the collectibles. I mean, that's the kind of game it is, right? If you've ever played any LEGO games, that's the kind of game it is. That, you know, it has the story, but it also has all the collectibles, and the worlds are very, very nice. Now, what was really crazy to me is the fact that it's a LEGO game, but some of the worlds looked really realistic, and you would think that would be kind of weird, you know, LEGO in a realistic kind of feeling world, but it actually worked very well. I mean, just the way it looked, it's kind of hard to explain. There were some areas that are just more LEGO elements, you know, and there's some areas that were more kind of realistic mixed with LEGO. Like you would have like kind of sandy, deserty areas that, you know, it was real sands and real, you know, rock structures and mountains, but there was LEGO elements mixed in, and it blended really, really well. It was a really, really nice, you know, visually looking game. Now, I obviously played it on PS5 if I haven't already stated that. So I did have some pretty solid visuals. Now, depending which console you're playing on, like if you're playing on the Nintendo Switch, you're not going to get as probably nice visuals, but really nice looking game for it being a Lego game. As far as the stories go, all the way from episode 1 to episode 9, I think they were pretty faithful to the main stories, but at the same time being a Lego game, they're going to throw in a bunch of comedic elements, right? So, you know, for example, the scene in the original trilogy where, you know, the original crew, Lando, was it Han Solo, and I forget everyone who was in that crew, but, you know, they encounter Darth Vader in Bespian. And there's that whole, you know, confrontation. You've already seen this in the trailer, but there's kind of a comedic effect where they're throwing like all of these random objects back and forth, like bananas and apples and, you know, baguettes or whatever it was. I can't remember everything that, you know, they threw back and forth, but stuff like that, right? Or, you know, someone's dirty laundry popping up out of something. Just random stuff like that adds kind of a comedic element. So while the stories themselves are faithful to, you know, the kind of baseline of what makes, you know, each of these episodes, you know, what they are, they've also obviously took creative liberties in, you know, making it a little bit, you know, more Lego-esque, right? If you play any Lego games, you know that that's what you can expect from these games. They're kind of, they don't take themselves too seriously. They're very comedic, like I said, in nature, and I think that really blends well. I think they found a good balance of those two things in this game. Like I said, every single episode. Now, you do get to kind of some of the other episodes that are a little bit more, I guess, controversial, like the new trilogy, for example. Some people love them, some people hate them. I'm the kind of person that I'm a little bit mixed. I don't like episode 8 at all personally. I think it's not a good movie. I think it's a really, really poor story. That's just me. But for someone like me who thinks that it's not a good story, the Lego elements, and like I said, adding the comedic effects and just kind of taking those creative liberties, if you will, made the stories that I didn't like too much in the movies a little bit more bearable. So I think that even if you don't like some of these stories in the movies, you might not love them in the Lego game, but I think you'll still enjoy them for what they are and just, you know, their take with the Lego kind of side of things, right? And adding those comedic elements and all these other creative elements, you know, kind of alongside the base story, right? So I think that they did that really well from episode 1 to episode 9. Like I said, the ones that obviously are some of my favorites, you know, I'm a huge fan of the prequel trilogies. I know a lot of controversy around those two, and the original trilogy, and I think those were done really, really well. Like I said, the main kind of key points that you would want them to hit upon, they hit upon. And you're probably wondering, well, if they only take like an hour and a half to get through, how are they, you know, really hitting all the story points? But that's the thing. They found a way that it felt like you were experiencing the whole story, at least as you remember it in your memory. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of stuff cut out, but you didn't really I didn't realize it. You might be different, but I didn't realize, you know, what exactly was cut out, because it felt like they hit all the main, you know, beats, all the main points of what made these stories, you know, so great and memorable. So although they were more concise, they felt like they were, you know, they were still full and complete, if that makes sense. So like I said, they really did a good job in terms of handling the story, adding their own creative and comedic elements to it. It was a lot of fun. The gameplay felt pretty smooth. There was a couple moments where I had a little bit of, you know, buggy issues, which could be patched by the time you're watching this, where, for example, something wouldn't load correctly and it was a black screen. That happened maybe once or twice. I had to reboot the game and that was it. For the most part, I didn't encounter too many issues or glitches or bugs or whatnot. It was a pretty good experience overall. And a lot of the people that were watching it live as I played through it said they personally hadn't experienced any of the bugs that they seen me experiencing. And like I said, the ones I experienced were very minimal, and they could be patched by the time you're watching this anyway. So now I would like to see some, like, you know, DLC in the future. I know it's not really technically part of the Skywalker Saga, but it kind of does fit into the, you know, the middle areas, right? Things like The Mandalorian, Solo, right? Rogue One, things like that. Now there's character packs and stuff like that that's going to be coming out, but I don't think they're actually, you know, full-blown story DLC, which I would like to see actual, you know, story DLC for those. You know, we do have kind of like a season pass that's mostly based around characters. Like I said, they do have The Mandalorian Season 1, Season 2, Solo. They have the Trooper Pack, Rogue One, Mandalorian Season 2, I think I just mentioned, Star Wars The Bad Batch. But again, these are more character packs. So I'd love to see them add some kind of DLC in the future. That'd be really, really cool to kind of fill in those gaps. But again, it's a Skywalker Saga. Saga, so it's mostly focused on the, you know, the 3 different movie trilogies. And like I said, in regards of that, it adds plenty of content for you. There's tons to do, lots of fun. Like I said, lots of laughs to be had. I really personally thoroughly enjoyed my experience with this game. I think it's a great game. If you like Lego and you like Star Wars, that's a bonus. Obviously, if you like just Star Wars and you haven't really played a Lego game, but you want a Star Wars game, I think you would still enjoy this. But obviously, keep in mind that it's, you know, it's going to add some creative and comedic elements that, you know, are a little bit different. It's not a faithful one for one, but they were still pretty faithful to the main points of the story, and I think that was really, really big. So for me personally, I think it's a solid 9 out of 10. It's a really, really good game. I had a lot of fun with it personally, and I honestly think you guys will too, especially if you're, you know, a Star Wars fan, of course. So let me know though, if you played the game, what your experience was with it. What would you rate it out of 10? This is just, again, one person's, you know, kind of subjective view on it. There's no objectivity in here. It's just my personal experience. It could be different from yours, but I wanted to share my experience and my kind of overall thoughts and impressions of the game with you guys here in this video. So again, let me know your thoughts, and if you enjoyed this one, leave a like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys very soon in another one. Until then, my friends, game on. Thanks for watching.